How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone is having a good Sunday. Just getting everything signed in, making sure everything is working correctly. As sometimes this stuff doesn't want to cooperate. But please let me know how everything sounds, if everything seems like it's good. Just making sure that I have all the chats pulled up in places that I can see them easily. And we will be fully good to go. Does it say that there shouldn't be a drop campaign? The title shouldn't be... It should be something different. Does it say drop campaign on Twitch? Hang on. One second. I gotta use my authenticator app to get in. It has a tendency to do that, though. Knocking stuff over. Let me see what that is. Second. Oh yeah, it used the... I hate Twitch. I don't know why Twitch likes to do this, but it will just take the last thing from last year or last live stream. It just drives me absolutely insane that it does this. How's it going, you guys? Streamlabs is definitely terrible. I would not recommend it if I did not want to relearn something again. If I had the capacity to learn, how to use something completely different to stream off of, I would just completely ditch Streamlabs because it drives me absolutely insane. My cat keeps trying to knock over my mouse. Now she's all right. No, you can't. Nope, can't. There go the speakers. That's actually so. The last video I recorded. Noticed something weird with the mic. That's because when she knocked it over one day, one of the buttons on here that changes where the audio input comes from, because you can do like, oh my gosh, she like turned my whole input off. It's got like different settings. One is where it's expecting sound from like every direction. One is where it's like expecting it from the front, and then there's like dual if it's expecting two speakers, and it's switched into basically where I was talking into the backside of the mic, and I was like, oh, fantastic. Like, this is what causes 99% of my problems, and it's because she keeps trying to jump up here. She did it again, and is trying to knock stuff over. I might just go feed her early, so that way she's not distracted. Give me 1 second. Come on, Patty. Come on. Come on, big goober. Alright, that should keep all of my stuff from being knocked over every 10 seconds. That will be significantly better for me. Because when your cords keep getting unplugged, it can be a little tricky to finagle and do things, unfortunately. So I want to just go around to the guild traders. I need more stuff to list up. But also, too, if you guys have stuff that you want to talk about or different things that you want to get ready for, we have the new events kind of coming out for ESO. That's going to be pretty exciting. Mid-Year Mayhem. And then after that, we have the Undaunted event, which I also think will be pretty fantastic.
Keep your eyes open for a good tea shop. Always happy to try a new blend.
I feel like that way Shrine's probably not the closest one to this one over here. Is YouTube chat working? I'm gonna test it here. Sometimes YouTube chat also just never wants to work. There it goes. Huge ad delay. Oh, on Twitch. Yeah, Twitch ads are always ridiculous, in my opinion. Why? Am I crazy? Sometimes trying to remember where this stuff is make my screen bigger too. I think it drove me insane for item flipping. So when they made the change from 30 days to 14 days, everybody had all these listings that were for less than 30 days but more than 14 days, so you couldn't search what was like a new listing, and that drove me absolutely bonkers because I'm like, I want to see what people are listing like right now so I could snipe it, and I'm like scrolling down to try to click on it, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Well, if this is all off trade, that is truly tragic. It's not even close to being on trade either. That sucks. There's like nothing listed here. It goes from like 14 days to 1 day, like a page of listings in Glenumbra. It's kind of crazy because usually Glenumbra is one of the thieves' refuges that has at least a little bit of juice in it. I feel like a lot of times, like the capitals usually get a decent chunk of traction, but maybe not. Not this week. Yeah, you can enter over here. A guild trader change is rough. Half time makes me spend double time to keep stuff up. So much work. It's true. I feel like it's also devalued a lot of things because I think people are listing stuff for less than they normally would just because they're like, I don't want it to just bounce back to me because that would be wasteful. So I think a lot of people are listing things up for less, and it's kind of devaluing a lot of items as well, which I'm curious to see if that will go in the long run. I put 200 stacks of key fragments for 20k each. They also within a day that I undersell. I would say you have not sold key fragments in so long. Key fragments are definitely going to be flooded during Mid-Year Mayhem. I mean, that's just obvious. People are going to be getting tons of them. So, I would say, I mean, selling within a day is very quick. I would say you probably were pretty close to their value, but at the end of the day, like, if you're okay making that amount of money, that's what's important. Plus, you were able to sell them before they flooded on the market. And then the Hulky 2G says, love your content. Well, thank you.
Greetings.
For some reason, everybody is viewing on Twitch. I very rarely ever have more viewers on Twitch than YouTube, and I have it right now, which is kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on. I'm also trying to make a formal stream schedule because obviously pretty bad at coming up with a stream schedule, but I'm no longer moving. There's still obviously a whole lot of stuff that needs to be done. Like, I'm probably going to cover this with black. That way it looks a little better. You see that I soundproofed the wall back there, which hopefully will help that. I've put random assortments of things, including my ESO thing that I got from the celebration event. Camera's over here. Which is pretty cool. I just got to figure out if there's other stuff to put up there. That is so weird. Thanks, YouTube. To be fair, YouTube is not like a streaming platform that's like really good for streaming. Like, you can't put Twitch drops on it. You can't link accounts. And I mean, it just overall is not the greatest, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that it slowly catches up because clearly Twitch, has been kind of dropping the ball. I mean, they're literally losing to a platform that allows you to like watch pornography on it. So if you're losing to Kick, YouTube, it's time to step up and become the new streaming platform too. I think too, it'll be one of those things where we just have to kind of continually assess the market as we go. I think I might do a market watch video. You guys can let me know if you're curious about this, because Mid-Year Mayhem is a very big economic event, and I think a lot of people think, they kind of sleep on it a little bit from that perspective. But as people kill each other, right? I don't know why this is my analogy for killing each other. Maybe like something like this. As people kill each other, they're going to be using potions. They're going to be using consumables. They're going to be using the buff foods. They're going to be upgrading their PvP sets. They're going to be buying PvP sets. There is so many facets of this event that I think you can profit off of. A lot of people, I think, boil it down to, oh, well, I just get double alliance points or double Telvar, and that's pretty neat. And it is neat, obviously. It's great. But from the preparation aspect and from the profit during, it can be pretty good. Also, too, you have people who sell things like the torts, I think they're called. Literally, they're only relevant like once a year, so I forget what their names are. The Colovian War torts, I think I'm remembering that correctly. Like, there are people who will go into not battlegrounds, but Cyrodiil, the Imperial City, and they'll start selling them like bottles of water, like, type X to get your Colovian War tort, and then they'll sell it for a slight markup because you're in, campaigns that you don't want to leave, but then, because you don't want to have to queue back into it, so those people make like a 100% up value on those just because they're going around selling it. And you have people in guild chat typing messages like, can somebody send me some bewitched sugar skulls, please? And I just find that so funny. I think that's like the funniest part of like Mid-Year Mayhem is once you get into like a good campaign, you just don't want to leave. And I understand why. Like, why would you want to leave if things are going great? Now, if you're getting, ham-fisted, then you probably do want to leave, but then you don't need consumables because you're going to go take a nap. I'll do that. I'll do what I just did. The other thing too is I have another monitor I can set up right here also, which will be exceptionally helpful for me because then you guys actually take up like the majority of the screen because obviously chat is the most important aspect of this. So it's like the chat is like just as big as my play screen, and sometimes I feel like I pressed the wrong buttons. Like if you saw the video yesterday or our last live stream where I actually yeeted myself off a cliff, it's pretty much exactly what happens. The only other thing too about the prices dropping that kind of makes me curious is it a good time to start sniping items to resell? Because I've noticed that when I do drop my prices to kind of equate for the 14-day market, they sell very quickly. And I think we're in this weird like fire sale day of like everything seems like it just sells so quickly, but because everybody's listing so low, you're just having all these sales. Which in some aspects is good too, because that means that everybody's profiting off of things faster, and that, can help stimulate the economy. It's like during the Zeals of Zenthar event, where you can, do one of your dailies just by buying something for like 10,000 gold, and people are like, well, I'll just buy some random, stuff that I need, and then from there it just gets used and kind of goes from there to help stimulate all the economic components of the game. I did with a couple of Opal masks, picked up for 30, turned it for 70. That's a good deal. I'm curious to see how the Opal pages will do this year. I feel like a long time ago, when I say a long time ago, like 2.5 years ago, the Opal pages were like ridiculously expensive, and they were talked about, they were sought after, and everybody was like, this is like the pinnacle of good design, right, for weapons and stuff, right? And then a lot of people, I don't know if they farmed it or if there were just other items that were really good, because ESO has continually added motif styles. I mean, we're on like motif style, like what, like 130? Like, so we've got so many good looking styles now, and each DLC that adds dungeon drops with, motif styles, it feels like sometimes those older pages that look good just no longer really make the cut. What are some good items to sell with AP before white streaks? I would say, if you don't want to gamble, just pick up the potions. The potions, I think, are probably one of the best sellers, especially on PC. I know that you don't play on PC, Rambo, but I like to answer the question in case anybody else is thinking about it. They might play on a different platform. Potions on PC are ridiculously good. Console, they're alright. They're decently fine. If you're trying to gamble on sets, that's where it becomes a bit tricky. I think that there are definitely some sets that might be used a lot during this PvP event that you can buy with AP. For example, I think a lot of people are tempted by sets like the Transmutation set. I think Dark Convergence, even though I've never really liked the Dark Convergence set, it's just used by so many people and it just looks cool on YouTube. And a lot of people will buy stuff just because it's cool, realistically. If they see a lot of stuff, it's cool. Deadly is another great option. Deadly is more a PvE set. I'm thinking more like getting ready for PvP, but Deadly is always one of the best sets to sell, realistically. Even sets like Vicious Death, I think, always seems a market for it because people always just want to blow people up just because that's just the MO they want to do. That feels very cheap. I'll have my price checker bought out. Should have it pulled up on my phone. Embryo Savings Depot. Let's see, it's normally 20 to 88,000. So I mean that is a good deal. I'm like, there's no way a chess piece is only worth 15,000. I mean, it's still a good chess piece. And for those of you who are new and you're looking at motifs specifically, obviously use the links in the videos that I post because there's price checker apps there. But if you're just eyeballing something, my best suggestion to you is generally the more big the motif page is. So like chests are big, because they take up your whole chest. Legs are big. There's some pretty cool shoulder pieces and helmets that just, look extravagant. Those are usually worth more just because they take up more space on your character, and, they are generally just more valuable because of that. If you can think about it this way, how many boots are worth more than 100,000 gold, for a style page? How many of you know of styles for boots or belts, that are worth more than 100,000? I'm sure that there are some, but I guarantee you that they're few and far between comparatively. Yeah, Deadly is definitely one of the best sets in the game. And the nice thing about Deadly, too, is it kind of breaches that gap between good for multiple types of content. And I think that's what really makes Deadly good, because a lot of times when I'm finding sets to suggest and whatnot, I'm always trying to find things that are good for everybody, because I've started to kind of think, I want to do a new Mythic breakdown, and this is a good question to throw to you guys. What is an S tier Mythic, right? So, and then I'm going to throw it to you based on the mindsets that I've been thinking about. So is an S tier Mythic something that's the best of the best at doing something very specific, but it might only be good for something very, very, very niche. So it's the best of the best, but it's only good for in 1% of content. Or something that's like great, but it's not the best of the best. It's like top 3, but it's good for 30% of content. Or something that's just generally good to own because it's got great utility value and then therefore can be applicable to 60% of content. What is an S tier versus what is an F tier versus, what's everything in between? It's when you guys are looking at mythics, what is the mindset that you have when you're thinking about it? I generally lean towards the pie chart method. If it's good for more types of content and it's good in that type of content, I think that that's definitely the way to do it, in my opinion. That's definitely what I would put in the ARS tier, depending on how good it is. But it can be tricky because you kind of see the difference. There's things that are like really, really good at one specific thing, but the majority of players just don't need it. So is that S tier? If 99% of your player base is going to get no benefit from this because it's good for, let's say it's good for tanking, and 99% of people will never tank at a level with this mythic, is it still an S tier mythic? That's what becomes difficult. And then I was thinking about doing a top 10 mythics, and then it becomes even more difficult because it's like, when at least with a tier list, right? You could still put all of them up there and it could be great. But when it comes to everything else, how is that going to go? So if you're in a situation where all of the mythics are good at what they do, how do you know which ones go to your top 10 list? And have fun in your in-laws. I don't know if I'll be streaming too long. I usually try to stream for about 2 hours at a time. Although this is much easier to stream like this. So in my last apartment, I couldn't turn on the central air when I was streaming because it was so loud. You guys would just hear like the whole stream, like a steady hum the whole time, and that's probably not good for your guys' mental state. And now it's not like that. I can keep my house cool without having to listen to a humming sound that would drive all of you guys up a wall. So that's kind of, things are a little bit different. That's why usually I would do it for 2 hours, because it would start to get really hot. It doesn't help too, like I would have to have like studio lights and stuff set up, and I'm still tweaking the light stuff here. As you can tell, you might be able to see sometimes like the lights in different places and the brightness is different. I'm still trying to work with it because I don't have blackout curtains, so the window is still producing light. So it's kind of a bit finicky to try to do the lighting, but it's a work in progress. Love your channel and what you do. Glad I caught your stream. Stay blessed. Well, thank you for stopping by. It's charisma with a QH. I don't know how that would normally sound if you were saying it differently, but thank you. It's crazy that this is worth 125,000. That's probably too high for Shardhorn boots. The other blessed thing too is that having been in a house that was like consistently 74 degrees, right now it is a cool, crisp 68 degrees. And it just feels incredible.
The cultural research opportunities in
I remember when people used to buy these glass style motif fragments, or the glass style. That was an old way you could convert your RIT vouchers to a decent chunk of gold. RIT vouchers is definitely one of the more finicky things if you want to kind of convert to gold. Hey, you didn't want to be Rockstar? How's it going? Well, how's it going for you? Josh says, probably the best ESO content creator with all the behind the scenes info. Got to go to work. I'll watch the replay tonight. Thanks so much. Well, thanks for stopping by, Josh. I hope it's helpful to know all the stuff that that goes on. And thank you, Jakeclips, for the Twitch subscription. Thank you much. In Europe, they call 75 degrees a heat wave. Exactly. And my apartment was getting to 75 degrees. And I'm unfortunately, when you're behind, like there's all this equipment here. There's lights behind me, in front of me, around me. and so you just heat up. You start sweating, and then I mean, thankfully, chat's always positive, or if not, I'd probably go insane. Like watching my pup dog while my girlfriend is sleeping. She had a night shift. Wish I could play ESO right now. Huh? Glad I got you on Twitch. Well, thank you. And J-Crod says you rock. Thank you. And I'll make sure to add you to the end credits for anyone that is subscribed on Twitch, channel member, or donators. Anybody that has in the past too. Let me know to make sure you're in the end credits. I did also want to try to brainstorm. So with the new housing feature, we're going to try to do some housing fun stuff like obstacle courses. The plan is that I'll list up one of my homes. It'll be an obstacle course, and then the first person to get to the end of the obstacle course gets like 5,000 crowns. I believe that I can still give away other stuff to like gift cards. Sometimes I read the TOS and I just want to make sure that I'm not breaking it, because I know that you can't like do trades for like real life currency, but I believe that I can still give away it as a reward. Jake, love your content, says K Pro. Well, thank you. So my plan is that basically I'll make sure I read the rules to make sure I'm not gonna get myself banned. I'm not trying to be like that one guy that gets banned like 8 times off ESO. Is that I'll put myself at the end of the obstacle course, and the first person to navigate themselves through the obstacle course and invites me to a trade, they're the winner then, and then they get a gift card or something along those lines. Can you explain stacks as they pertain to Infinite Archive? What stacks are you referring to? Like the buffs or which component? That's kind of my plan for that. I was also thinking too, if there's like crossplay games that we could play with subscribers, I think that would be kind of interesting. One of the more fun experiences for those of you who missed the live stream was actually going through Cyrodiil with some of you guys. And then I would get killed by some of you, and then some of you would be in my group, and then we would take keeps together, and that was pretty fun. But I was trying to think of some other things that would be as fun. So if you guys have ideas, let me know. Especially because now that I'm done moving, like I have so much more time and less stress of packing up my whole existence and having to deal with that. Kind of crazy how fast the newer sets in the zone kind of devalued. The Westweld sets just plummeted in value. It's kind of nutty. But I guess it makes sense. Actually makes these. So some people ask me like, hey Jake, I want to sell furniture. And generally furniture is pretty annoying to sell, but stuff like this is actually pretty cool to sell. If you can find an item that's like you've got a lot of that materials to make it, this is pretty good. Play a Frost Warden before the nerf. It's super fun to run in BGs right now. My first ever character on console was a Warden. It wasn't on PC. So when I played back and just as the beta ended, was it technically the beta when you had to pay for a monthly subscription to play ESO? I forget if that was like the beta period. But I played that time period and it was a sorcerer. My first ever console person was a Warden, but he's unfortunately a Stam Warden. He's also a red guard, which is not known to be necessarily very good at doing much of anything. Stacks, you have X%. I always have 0. I'm drawing a blank on what that is. Let me look this up. I have to see it to visualize it. Let me see here. And you're saying it's always telling you 0? It could all... I'm just looking at all the things here to jog my memory on what... Yeah, verses are temporary buffs, and then visions are permanent buffs until you finish that infinite archive. I don't see any reference to stacks, though, like, in the way that you're referencing, so I don't know what... I don't know what that is, but if you want, send me a screenshot on Discord. Is grinding the scribing out worth it for mainly a PvP player? That's a good question. I think it depends. It's always going to come down to time investment versus reward. And a lot of PvP sets and builds are just not going to need this stuff, right? So if you're thinking like, do I need to do this for mid-year mayhem and make sure that I've got all this stuff ready to go? Not very good, in my opinion. It's not something that you're going to have to run out and go do and be like, I've got to do the 20 hours of scribing storyline and do all that. Well, head there, the Warden does get some love. I've actually, well, to be fair, have not played the Warden since... When did I stop? I stopped playing on my Warden when Blackwood was released, and I switched to the Sorcerer. Kind of kept Mag Sorcerer as the main go around. But I would say, if you're looking for a good gold method, though, scribing is great. Getting ink, very helpful. Just getting it passively and being able to sell it correctly is good. Yeah, but what stacks are not giving you... You're saying that they were 0 when you were looking at it? Like it was saying it wasn't giving you an actual bonus? Yeah, from that aspect, scribing is great. Easy gold method, make some money. I think that in the long run, it's going to be like scrying, where eventually you're going to want to have it on all your characters, because as the system is continually expanded, it's just going to be increased and increased on how much utility there is of it. In the same way that, like, you know, when the first round of Mythics came out, yeah, like some of them were good. They were all kind of like decent, you know, they were all decent. Some of them you could argue were pretty broken for specific things, but set all that to the side. I'd say that the majority of the Mythics when they were first released were good. And then over time they got nerfed and kind of normalized. But then they added more and more, and now there's new things that you can get with scribing and new rewards like furniture pieces, music boxes, motifs that you can sell for money. You know, so as time has progressed, scribing has become, or scrying, excuse me, has become exceptionally valuable to have, and I think scribing will be the same thing. Now that I say these words out loud, I really wish that they had picked different words for these things. So you have the Oaken Soul on, and then you're getting the buffs from the visions and the verses. I'm wondering if you just have some sort of visual bug, if it's not showing it correctly. But some, I mean, obviously they do end in different points, like the visions and the verses, either between arena or between rounds or between infinite archive runs. But ESO is also known to have problems with buffs and debuffs. For those of you who've ever gotten like a buff that or a debuff that's going to last like 10 years, you know, like you go into Cyrodiil and then you get a debuff that lasts like 10 years on you, and you're like, well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, send me a screenshot of it on Discord, and I could probably take a look at it. And if I have no clue, then that means probably just submit a ticket. Let's see what the big wigs say. I don't even remember where this set's from. Witchman? When you use an ultimate, you heal for 50 health and 49 stamina and magicka for ultimate spent. I don't know where that set's from. Where's the set from? Am I dumb? I just, I feel like doing the golden vendor throughout the years has made me just like keenly aware of like where all the sets are from. Oh, it's from the Rift. Huh. I totally forgot about this. Finally caught a stream instead of a video. Well, thanks for stopping by, coveted curator. Which also is a great segue. What do you guys think about the new curated drops? Everyone got any strong opinions on curated drops being increased to more things? Sometimes, I know some people who are a little bit more hardcore are kind of like curated drops are for losers. I should grind for 1,000 hours and have nothing to show for it. And I'm somebody who's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I don't want to have to farm this dungeon 1,000 times just to get one item. That'd be great if I only had to do it like 100 times, I think, for sets at least. I think for chase items, like if they wanted to add like a 0.1% mount drop or something, to me that's fine. Make me farm that for 1,000 times. But sometimes I like that the bar to get into certain types of content is low. Like for example, if I did a PvP build video, nothing on there is going to require you to farm a dungeon so many times that your hair is going to turn gray and you're going to start crying yourself to sleep at night because you keep farming it and then you don't get it. And worse, that one guy that farms it with you, he gets it infinitely faster than you do. And then he's off having fun in the sunset, and you're just back there farming the dungeon. This may or may not be based on a real experience. And thank you, Marcus, the best ESOer. Your curated shoulder stuff is welcome. QOL upgrade, positive take. They should have already done this years ago. That's true. By the way, I know you hate TOT, but I can't stay... I can't stand the wait for 10 days on average at the beginning of the month every freaking month. Oh, can't stand the wait for 10 days on average. I mean, I don't have my problem with Tales of Tribute is not Tales of Tribute itself conceptually. I think conceptually it's good. I think it's unique. It's not like a Magic the Gathering clone. It's not pay to win. It doesn't require you to have like overpowered decks that you went out and grinded for. From that aspect, I love Tales of Tribute because in theory it could be some weird pay-to-win card game builder that's like Magic the Gathering. It's like a shitty clone. So I think if they do deserve credit in some aspects of what they created, right? I'm not going to take that away from them. However, on the other aspect of it, what kind of makes me a little annoyed is like I could be in a Tales of Tribute game for like an hour, and it could just become frustrating that you're just in these games and just go on and on and on. So I think that if they just lowered the prestige from 40 to 30, the game would be infinitely better, like infinitely better. And they may have to adjust certain cards that are broken. Like that, would just give you too much power too quickly. I'm not saying that you could just lower it from 40 to 30 and that'd be the only change. But on the surface of it, I'm doing something that's longer than a battleground, and I'm getting rewards that aren't necessarily as good as a battleground. And I'm going to have more fun doing a battleground, probably even a dungeon, even if it's an annoying dungeon. I'm probably going to get through any dungeon faster than a Tales of Tribute game. I agree with you. I just can't pronounce those words. There's some words that are just very difficult to pronounce for me, as you can tell. Unfathomable Darkness for 700. Gambled 60k Talvar on 20 powerful assault coffers and got 2 powerful assaults ice staffs charged and powered. Golden them up, put them on the trader. That is an amazing pool. That's great. That's all your luck for the rest of the year, though. Now you're gonna be cautious on what you buy, because now the coding will only work against you. I have a secret soft spot in my place for the Gold Road. I wish that there was more stuff in the Gold Road, like... Or, I'm sorry, yeah, the Gold Coast, excuse me. Golly. Have you played the new deck? I have played against it against my will. Because people have picked it when I was doing a stream, but I've not unlocked the deck, I don't think. I think I have like 3 out of 5 fragments. And I actually think that when I was playing against it, I didn't really see that many cards of it. Which, is just kind of the name of the game sometimes. When you're playing Tales of Tribute, you just kind of get a couple kind of decks, go through it pretty quickly. I can't remember if I was streaming playing Tales of Tribute when that happened. What is my day job? So as you may know, I used to work for Child Protective Services. And I work for a healthcare organization that I just assess people in the community, give them services, talk about different things that they qualify for, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and then I just volunteer the child welfare system. And a bit better for me. I don't have to. I was working probably an average of 60 hours a week at my old job. Now I work like a calm 40. I've probably asked for overtime like twice, and I think that was just more so because I was just really far away from my house finishing up a visit, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it back on time if I want to get through this whole visit. Yeah, I've only, I think, asked for it twice, and I've been doing this for almost a year, so it's just so much calmer than what I'm used to, because I'm used to just constant chaos. And it's unfortunate because, like, I really enjoy doing stuff like this. I play soccer on Wednesdays, so I try to do a lot of things. And when you have a job, and I was salaried too, so there was no benefit when I was working 60 hours besides, feeling like I was making a difference, which I did feel. I was just kind of suffering along the way where I was like, well, I would just get home, go to sleep, and I'd be like, make Tuesday vendor video. It's never good when you should end your job at 4:30 and then you're late to an 8 p.m. golden vendor review video. That's just a bad sign. Especially when you're not an hourly employee, because they have no benefit to just not keep giving you more problems. And so now I just get to be a volunteer on my own time, and I can kind of pick my schedule around helping. And then I still obviously get to work, for a healthcare organization and assess people and get them, what they need. So I still get to feel that same reward. Unless I plan to go back to school for a master's degree at some point. Unless YouTube really goes crazy. I'm just kidding. This will be easier to kind of manage with going to school and everything. And hopefully easier to manage a stream schedule, because I have been trying to make a stream schedule for so long. And when I was working my last job, it was like, well, if I'm getting home as late as 9 p.m., am I just going to set up my stream schedule from like 9 to midnight? But then I'm like, I got to eat. I got to do chores, errands, and all this other stuff. Salary only works if the salary is high enough. Exactly. Glad you're doing good work, though. Well, thank you. I enjoy the work that I do. I enjoy being able to help out I think that it keeps you grounded too in reality. Sometimes I think that I watch a lot of YouTube drama, on the side, like when I'm driving, I love listening to podcasts about what's going on and like the whole Boogie 2988 situation. And I'm just like, wow, here you have some people who are just not grounded in reality. And I mean that because, like, you could use Boogie as an example. And if you don't know who he is, he's like a gaming lifestyle YouTuber who has been on YouTube pretty much since its inception, like what, 2009, I want to say. 2010 is when he made his account, something like that. And he has not worked a job since like the 90s. And if YouTube was your only job, you just become like obsessed with numbers. And that's why like I have the benefit of being like, YouTube is fun, right? I don't care. Like yesterday, the video for Midget Mayhem was like should have gotten more views, right? And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I might change the thumbnail around because like search term wise, like there's Midget Mayhem, Palonor's Grace, White Strake's Mayhem, like so many different keywords. And I posted it at like 10:30, because I was doing stuff yesterday. And from that aspect, I'm not bothered by it because I'm like, people will watch it and they'll search it, they'll find it if they want to, and if not, I'll put out a new video. But like when your whole income is dependent upon like videos doing well, I could see you becoming obsessed by it. And the problem is that when you become obsessed with numbers and chat, you start going down the dark path of like, well, if I just start doing crazy, wacky, outlandish, negative, or terrible things, then that's going to be what generates more income. That's what the problem is. Like, that's where, the bad things start to come up. Like, people who cause drama, create drama, jump into drama, like, because they, it benefits them. Like, it can give them more money. And, when your whole life is these analytics, you're going to be geared towards that type of content. How's it going, Snoggo? The hardcore player says, hi, Jakeclips. You're awesome, amazing, and hella cool. Thank you so much for your how-tos on YouTube. Me and my fellow guildmates and 4 guilds go to them for info. Well, thank you. I always try to provide as much context as possible. And I'm not saying that like any YouTuber is like bad specifically or anything. I'm not, trying to say that, they're bad people, but I don't think that I could ever just be a YouTuber, because I think that you just become like, you just get sucked into the world of analytics. Like just the analytics that YouTube alone will give me on this stream is going to be crazy. It'll tell me how long the average person watched for, what their demographics were, what country they were from, how many ads they watched, how many of them had YouTube Premium, how many of them, clicked off of this video that I posted in Discord versus how many people were notified, how many people searched for it, and you just start getting all this data, and it's just like, whoo. When your life becomes analytical and numbers, it just will start to drive you crazy, because you're like, oh, not enough people were finding it via search. I should have added in a better titled or description or keywords, and it's just like you lose the aspect of like the whole thing is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. Jake, I think I'm in love with you, says Draconian Methods. Well, I don't know what to say to that. I'm sorry. Never been told anything like that before. Nobody's ever said that they love me, except for my mom. She watches these, so I don't think that's what her YouTube name is. I understand your point exactly. You're so right. It applies to all social media platforms. It's kind of dangerous. It is. And I think I was looking at monetization on I think it was Instagram and Twitter, and I was like, man, I could like start posting shorts and stuff on there, but I'm like, I was looking up a guide on how to like get monetized on Twitter, and it basically was like, just go and rage bait on a bunch of posts. Like, just go like start posting like rage bait stuff, and then people will follow you and then interact with your comments, and then boom, you'll be monetized. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I don't really want to pretend to be an asshole or like, follow like politicians and just go for zingers under them. Like, some guy, some politician will be like posting a picture of him fishing, and I'm just like, what about our healthcare system? And then you're just like, got him. Like, I don't want to get embroiled in that. So we'll see, because I've been enjoying the intro puns as YouTube shorts. If any of you guys have seen them, you have to let me know what you think. Because I am always trying to find ways to refine and do things a bit differently. And if you guys have watched the intro shorts and the puns, let me know what you think. Tried to add a little bit of razzle dazzle flair to them as well. A little bit of some what's the word I'm looking for? Pictures and stuff, little pictures. Try to use AI to if there was like what do you call a happy cowboy? A jolly rancher, like a jolly rancher cowboy, like trying to like have AI like make an image that includes both of those things just for the humor. This is in fact what I do in my free time. Sometimes when I'm at work too, I like look at puns and one-liners and I'm like, how could I change this? It's like creating Elder Scrolls Online specific ones. What's crazy is like these Gold Coast guild traders are worth like 1 to 2 million gold a week, and it just does not feel. As I say this, these are some real cheap stuff right here. But the majority of the time I come here, I feel like I'm just not getting a good deal, and I feel like the stuff that's listed here is just not super great. Maybe I'm like, crazy for that, but like I just don't think that you're getting the value. Trainee shield. Some of the trainee stuff though does tickle my fancy every so often. Does make me go, do I want that? Did any of you guys go to the ESO tavern event? That was one thing where I was like, man, it'd be cool to go to. I think they flew out all the cosplayers though, and I'm not a cosplayer, unfortunately. Although I probably could put a pot on top of my head, or like a cooking pot, not like a potting plant, and then just be like, aha, I'm the Cadwell. And they'd be like, it's like he's here right now. Well, I'm pretty sure Cadwell has a British accent. I've not heard Cadwell speak in a long time. I think he's got a British accent. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I could be like, oh, water bottle. Water. Thank you for the subscription, NyQuil Gaming. I hope he's here right now, because, fun fact, if they're just watching a normal YouTube video and they subscribe, it'll still pop up here. So a lot of times I've noticed that people who subscribe on YouTube aren't, like, in the stream. They're just kind of, like, watching a video where I'm, like, probably going on some long tangent about something stupid. And then they're like, yeah, I'll subscribe to this guy. Thankfully, the people that usually subscribe on Twitch, they're usually present in the chat. Although I have had people subscribe on Twitch not during a live stream. And I was like, well, that's nice. Feel bad, though. I don't get to say thank you. Water bottle? You what? It's like I'm Cadwell. Slap the potted pot on top of my head and I'm ready to go. That is one of the ugliest looking fences I've ever seen. And it feels a little bit impractical too. Like, I feel like the number one thing that you would use a fence for in your house is to keep your pets inside, right? To kind of keep the stuff, in your kind of abode, right? Your humble abode. One, your pets can easily clear this fence, right? And there's no privacy from this fence either. You could easily just like let's say you're doing something on the other side of this fence. Your neighbor can literally look right across from you. is you could stand and you're gonna see right over top of it. Objectively, this is a terrible fence. And I couldn't imagine putting this and 25,000 gold. I mean, granted, I don't know what that is in US dollars if you were to convert this into a real life fence, but I just don't see the value. There's key fragments, Rambo for 50,000. This guy's he's going all in. To be fair, it probably does make sense to try to get rid of some of this stuff before, you know, the big PvP event. But a lot of people, you know, need to remember too that like the stuff's gonna exist afterwards, so you don't have to dump stuff for cheap now because you can just sell it on later. Already been there. Maybe way rest will give us the juice. If you guys have suggestions for new videos too, I'm in between a couple. I want to talk about the vampirism changes. I think that's gonna be pretty big. Dedicated video talking about how it will be different going forward. Also wanted to do a new mythic breakdown video. If you guys are interested in new mythics, how they all compared against each other now. Especially since the last mythic video, I think a lot of them have been kind of changed too. The utility is also different because, you know, some stuff like I can't Pale Order Ring, you know, all used to be only good for arenas. Well, now there's a brand new arena that's like really good. You know, so you've got stuff that's kind of increasing utilization because of stuff like that. So I was thinking about a mythic one. I was also thinking about like a thief build, kind of breaking down how you can maximize your sneakiness on a budget. Because I think that, you know, the sneakier aspects of ESO are just not really highlighted as much. Like, how many Master Thief builds do you see? And I mean, to me, I just feel like I don't see very many of them. So from that aspect, it's kind of like, you know, I feel like I should make like a little video on it. Because there's so many people who are interested in being a little, it has to be a good deal, even though it's not the right trait. It's still purple. Being a little rapscallion. Unfortunately, a lot of this other stuff is not great. Although, this is technically heavy with reduced damage taken. I mean, it's green. You probably could sell for 1,000, or you know, maybe a couple thousand, but not gonna use a slot on that. That's probably a decent deal. I don't know why your message did not pop. Hang on, I'm gonna reset the chat here. Your message didn't pop up. Do you think they will add something to Stage 3 Vamp since they're effectively taking something away from it? Spoken from someone who enjoys running around at Stage 4. I don't know. I think that they likely will at some point, but I don't think that they're going to do it now, if that makes sense. I think that they've kind of figured out what they want to do for Q3. They're going to run with it, and now they're just going to kind of let it be. They're just going to kind of let it go and see how many people still use Vampire. I think that part of their annoyance is that people are literally just using Vampirism to just not get finished off in PvP. That's their whole purpose. So I think that they're going to want to see how people, like the utility rates inside of Cyrodiil, especially of vampires, still exist after this change, and then I think from there they'll rework it based on, I'm sure they've got some database of like how many people are vampires and werewolves and normal people, and they're always like, oh, you know, we should have ideally this percentage and this amount of content, or you know, whatever. You want the maxed out thieves build, I'll get it to you. Because there's so many sets that you can stack like hidden buffs, and a lot of people sleep on certain types of content like heists. I actually think that ironically heists are a bit slept on for how good they are. Feels like a decent deal for Cadwell Sword. Let me take a meander here at my Gosh dang it, I forgot I closed it. Why would I ever close my savings app? Un momento. We gotta do some research here. I'm basically Hassan Piker doing research on the go. Cadwell sword. Ooh, that's not worth anything. Ooh. Not worth a lot. Not at all. I was wondering, it's worth about 2,000 to 4,000 gold. I thought that it would be worth a little bit more because I was like, oh, it looks cool. Sometimes you can look at something and be like, yeah, they look cool. I actually don't have those, so I usually buy them just to find it to myself because I never really worry about finishing those style pages that come out during events because it's like, you know that they're going to be worth like 2,000 gold in a few months unless they look ridiculously cool, but that rarely happens. No offense. Why I'm even only technically one, and they're in stacks of two. What do I think about England's chances today? I think that there's like a 40% chance they'll win. You know, I don't think that they're favorites by any means, but I don't think that they're like horribly out of it. I'm just curious to see how they do. I think the biggest problem with England is that their team is very young. Their best players are all very young. Saka, Bellingham, Rice, like their three Foden, their four best players are ridiculously young. Even Trent, young. You know, the only person who's old there is Harry Kane, and he's arguably Mainu. Then you've got Harry Kane, who's basically a fossil at this point. You know, he runs basically at the speed of a sloth, and so he's not. I don't think that there's a lot of good chemistry in the team. Like if I was making the team, I probably would focus more on pace, especially based on the teams that they're playing. You know, somebody that's going to play off the front foot and, you know, push the lines of the strikers. Now, whether that be Watkins or Tony, I don't know. I think that they both played well. I think that you have to play Watkins today because of his goal yesterday. So for me, I just don't like how they use the team. And I also am a Liverpool fan, so I would personally start Trent, even though that's a hot topic. But I also think, too, that they have so many defensive-minded players that they need more creative ones. Like, especially after Walker gave away the first goal to... I forget who it was. And, you know, I'm like, and he still just gets to play the next game. Jude Bellingham was like 12, and he already is a Real Madrid star and has a Liga Championship and a Champions League trophy. It's nuts. It is. And I think a lot of, like, when he doesn't play well in a specific game, they're like, he's terrible. And I'm like, bro, he's like 12 years old. Calm down. What were you doing at 12 years old? Playing in the Euros? No. Saka needs to be more aggressive. I agree. I think that the problem is like, there's no chemistry on the team. And ironically, that's the same problem that the English team has had for a long time. But when it was Lampard, Terry, Gerrard, Ferdinand, like, they should have arguably won a whole lot, but they had no chemistry together, arguably because they hated each other. But this chemistry is more like stylistic chemistry. Like, there's, like, you've got people who are very, you know, fast-paced, you know, counter-attacking. You've got people who are very slow build-up, possession-based. You know, you've got so many different types of players in that team. It just does not mesh well, in my opinion. I didn't know which end of the playpen to poop in at 12 or whatever. Yeah, I mean, same. You get so many options, so many corners. So I'm like getting YouTube comments at the same time on like different videos, and now I'm like, I should respond to those, but I'm like, I could do that later. Here's my MLS team. I don't really have an MLS team that I support, honestly. I think they're all a bunch of silly rapscallions. If I'm being for real. Amulet of Eternal Vigor, a good set in purple, 153 gold. That's easily at least a 10,000 item. A little fun factoid here for us. Why might somebody be interested in the bow of the trainee, even if they've never really planned to use the bow specifically? And to answer that question is people will buy things to complete the sticker book, so that if they need to reconstruct items, it will be cheaper in transmutes. And transmutes are intentionally hard to cap out, and there's a low cap for them. That way, players have to actually be mindful of how they spend them, and keep circulating the economy versus reconstructing everything. Because if you could go past the 1,000 transmute cap, Lord only knows how many I would have. And that's an intentional design by the developers to kind of keep the economy a little bit more isolated. That's actually some pretty cool looking bracers. I have those. Oh look, there's Cadwell's sword for 3,000. You know, so like 30,000 cheaper than what we were seeing earlier. I feel like that England was sort of fortunate to get past the Netherlands. Manager didn't rate Ollie Watkins almost in a minute, and his late sub scores. She mean winner. Lucky, I mean great goal. No offense to Ollie, but Coates dice rolling. I do feel bad because what kind of drives me insane about coaches is that they're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, in the sense that if he did nothing and then they won the game, he would be considered lucky. If he makes a change and they win the game, he's considered lucky because nobody rates him at all. And I think the problem with Gareth Southgate is it himself. It's that international managers are not good. The job is not desirable, realistically, except for the German coach. I mean, the coach who's coaching Uruguay was fired from Leeds United. Like, so one of the most prestigious, clubs around the world, or countries around the world, was fired from Leeds United, which is not even in the Premier League. So people, I think, need to taper their expectations when it comes to coaching, because I think when you watch the Premier League, you become very infatuated with coaches who make, $10 to $20 million a year, and then, we're watching people who are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's kind of like watching the Olympic soccer versus, like Premier League or Champions League soccer. It's just very different. And I think we just kind of need to taper our expectations. Like Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, they're not international managers. And ironically, the only reason that Klopp or Pep would be an international manager is like a retirement. Like, you would only go to those positions if you basically were like, yeah, I kind of want like a retirement gig. Because you don't really do a whole lot. And you don't have a lot of control over like players and how they are. You're not training them as much as a normal coach would be. And I think tactically it's very different for Southgate as well, because defenses are generally what win tournaments and offenses are what win like league titles. So he's played defensively, and he literally has the best record for any English manager pretty much to ever exist ever. And people are like, yeah, but he just gets lucky. And I'm like, I don't think you can be as lucky as he was. He had back-to-back Euro finals, decent World Cup runs. He's won more knockout games than every other coach since like 1966 combined. And it's just ridiculous stat-wise. And so I don't think that it's luck, because you can't realistically be that lucky. People will say, oh, well, the international teams are worse, these years versus those years. And I don't really rate that argument either, because so you're telling me you couldn't win one or two knockout games against, teams like Chile? Like, what was the Chile national team like, in 2000 or 1990? So I don't really, or what was the USA team like in the World Cup when they faced each other in the 80s? Like, you should still be beating those teams as England regardless. So you have to give Southgate credit because he has been winning those games with the team that he has. And I think people are just trying to be a bit revisionist by saying, oh, well, international teams are arguably worse right now. And I think to some extent that's potentially true, but also if you look at the coefficients for a lot of these nations, like they're going against teams that played really well, and people will say, "Oh, well, they got seeded on the easy side of the tournament," and it's like, well, they were going to go against teams like Italy. It's not their fault that Switzerland knocked Italy out. It's not their fault that a lot of the teams that would be really good that previously won it got knocked out by other teams because that's just how good the Euros are. It's a very defensive-minded moment tournament. Exactly. So here's England in another finals. How will they screw it up this time? Is the Starky Salty question among jaded fans. I hope it's a good match. The other thing too that's kind of funny is like people will give Jose Mourinho tons of credit. They'll be like, he wins cups. He's a cup manager. He'll play anti-football and take terrible teams to finals. But if Southgate does it, they're like, this is terrible. This is horrible. We should appoint Jose Mourinho. And I'm like, he's already playing Jose Mourinho football, except the only difference with Jose Mourinho is that he'll buy like 35-year-old players on like 300 grand a week and then, cripple the club financially and then get fired. So glad Eric Ten Hag got an extension and Southgate is not the coach. I'm curious to see how he would have done in the Premier League with like a good team, like, well, how would Eric Ten Hag, or not Eric Ten Hag, Gareth Southgate do in charge of Chelsea? Like that's an interesting question because he does build a lot of chemistry around the players. You do get the sense that as a team, they are like close knit. They do a lot of stuff together. They participate in a lot of activities. And I think from that aspect, he's doing something that he's always needed to do because England has always struggled with, hey, how are we, how do we get all these players to not hate each other? And he's done a phenomenal job at doing that. Mourinho has something wrong with him. He torpedoed himself out of the second stint at Chelsea, out of Man United, out of Chelsea. That's all on him. Sad. I think that he definitely has some benefits, but it's all short-term benefits, realistically. He's good in the short term. In the long run, I probably would rather have Eric Ten Hag in the long run than Jose Mourinho. I'm curious to see how Arne Slot will do. I think that that'll be a big adjustment for him. I don't know. I feel like they have to. Like, it's funny because he's made the sub of Ivan Toney, who won the game. Made the sub of Ollie Watkins, who won the game. Like, he's making changes that arguably win the game. Now, some people will say, oh, well, he should have done it sooner, but who's to say that he would have won if he'd done it sooner? If you've ever been subbed on to a game late, you are full energy. If you're getting subbed on at the 80th minute, you're going against people who've run the whole time. They're gassed out, they're tired, versus if you come on at the 60th minute, you're going to be tiring yourself out before the 80th, 90th minute. So I don't think it's this, oh, we put people on, at the 90 or the 80th minute for no reason. It's you have 10 minutes against people who are tired. And you're supposed to be a fast boy, and that's exactly how it worked. He's a fast boy, and he scored. Are you pumped or frightened for Arne Slot? I don't know. I do get the sense that for me as a Liverpool fan, the biggest thing that happened was, is it Michael Edwards or Michael Woodward? I always forget his name. But him coming back, he was the greatest scout ever for Liverpool. Signing Mane, Salah at cheap deals. He got Joe Gomez for free, I believe. Or from the academy, excuse me, or into the academy. He got Joel Matip for free. He got Robertson in an amazing deal. I mean, Robertson has arguably been the most consistent left back in world football for 5 years. And he was bought for like, what, 20 million pounds? Like something ridiculously low. So he is a fiend for getting good deals. And I think that him coming back to the club gives me a lot of hope that we'll continually sign good players at a good rate. I mean, he signed Firmino. He was involved with basically signing all of the good players that we've had. And even the players that, like, didn't do well, he still sold for a profit. He signed Dominic Solanke, sold him for 10, 20 million, profit. Like, it's just, Liverpool do not do bad on transfers. The only problem that you would argue is that they're selective, and that could be a bit problematic because you saw at the end of last season, I mean, they're putting on like 6 teenagers that are all below the age of like 17 against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final. Like, they don't have the squad depth to compete over the entirety of a Premier League season. And that's what kind of worries me. But I would be more worried if I was a Manchester City fan, because it looks like Kevin De Bruyne and Julian Alvarez will both be leaving, and I think that that's more terrifying as a proposition for them. Because I'll be honest, I know this is a hot soccer take. I know a lot of you guys are watching, or statistically 50% of you are American, and you're probably like, Jake, what in the hell are we talking about? And so this means nothing to you American fans, but I think Holland is overrated and is not good against good teams. And because of that, Manchester City is going to suffer without KDB. They'll probably drop into the top 4 and not win. Like, you guys are asking questions that are not soccer related just to get me back on track. What are the best PvP classes? I think it depends. I think it's like a wand, right? I think it's kind of like something has to feel good to you. It's like, I love a sorcerer, but arguably sorcerers are not the best. Now, certain patches, they might be the best, but I enjoy their mobility, their hit and run tactics, their burst. I enjoy their play style. But if you enjoy the invisibility and the burst of, Nightblade, that's great too. If you like Dragon Knight, the developers probably play Dragon Knights because they never really seem to get nerfed too harshly. And they're always OP and amazing. Wardens seem like to me, I never liked playing Wardens because they seem like a one-trick pony. I always felt like Wardens were always trying to do the same thing, especially Stam Wardens. They're always so similar. Necromancers, I would just skip for PvP. I mean, you could do some bomb shenanigans or whatever, but as far as that, I would not recommend it. If somebody was like, Jake, I don't want to go be a necromancer, I'd be like, stick to legal magic, not the illegal kind. If you said I wanted to be a Templar, I'd say Templars are good. I'd say that they have a lot of what the sorcerer has. It's mobility, it's got good executes, you can finish off people non-sexually pretty effectively. I think Templars are good, and they've always just been good. I don't think they've ever really been, like, they're not usually S+ tier very often, but they're always consistently good. Arcanist, I think, is getting nerfed next patch because they've, been a little busted. And I think that they're great, but I think that they're the new child on the block. And I think that they're just going to keep being chipped down over time. So it's kind of like, do you want to invest your time in a class that's at the peak of the pedestal that the developers are looking at with a sniper rifle going, I'm going to take you down. You don't want to be taken down. Best for DPS. Let me qualify that statement. Are we talking about trial DPS, or are we talking about non-trial, like dungeons, or are we talking about arenas? Because I have different thoughts based on those 3 criteria. Because I think that a lot of classes, DPS is very different in an arena versus a trial. In a dungeon. Okay. So in a dungeon where you're still probably having to take, I think right now it's got to be the Arcanist. But I don't think it's going to be like that for very long. But I think right now it's the Arcanist. Now, if you're talking about best DPS, that's easy. I would say it's probably a Templar. Their rotation is just so easy. Haaland is the best number 9 in the world if consistent service is provided. This is coming from a Chelsea fan. I want you to look up this statistic then. Haaland has not scored in a semifinal onwards ever or assisted, and he's been in like 8 to 10 of them. He is just not a big game player. I also don't think he scored against the top 6 last year, unless you're counting Manchester United as a top 6 club, because technically they finished 8th. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just trying to remember how the stat was written. It's like he scored like 0 goals. So he would have had like 12 games, scored like none. Because I don't think Chelsea wasn't top 6 either. So this would have been against like Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Villa, somebody else. So from that's where I think Haaland is just not good. It's just that he destroys baby teams. Like, if he's going against Burnley, put him on your fantasy team. He'll kill him. You put him up against Liverpool, he had like, 0 shots on target against both Liverpool games. Haaland is Lukaku 2.0. That's a hot take. I don't know if I would quite say that, but I do think that in big games, he's just not that guy, And he is still young. Like, I'm not saying that's bad, but like, you look at some of these other players that are younger, like Jude Bellingham, like he's scoring winners in games. He scored an overhead kick winner in a crucial knockout match. Haaland just doesn't do that. Sorry, they're going to keep dragging me back into soccer. You guys have to keep asking more ESO questions unless you want me to get trailed off target here. Thank you, Rambo. It's my Roy Keane impression. He's a League 2 player. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not quite that far. Although I do think that his quote really wasn't as bad when you kind of like gauge it. He said that he was a League 2 player at everything else besides being a striker. And I do think that's kind of true. Like, I think that there's a lot of football players that, like, if you switch their position around a little bit, like maybe put him on the wing, that he would be, like if you put Salah as a striker, for example, he would still be a Premier League quality player. Put him in midfield, probably Premier League quality. You put him on defense, maybe, Championship League 2 player. But, I think that's where Haaland was getting kind of slapped around. It's just like he can only do one thing. And a lot of Manchester City players are required to do a lot of things. Pep himself has said that every player on the team should be able to play every position. And it's clear Haaland cannot do that. I think I might. Part of me wants to watch the Euros because we keep talking about it. It starts in 12 minutes. So get out all your questions. Just start throwing them at me. So that way I can make sure I get to all of them in case I do want to go watch the game. The thing with Kane, though, is that he's older. He's not a pacey striker anymore. And I actually think that, Kane probably could play a slower... Because if you remember his link-up play with, Son, their link-up play was phenomenal. Haaland's link-up play does not exist. Arguably, this is a real arguably, Darwin Núñez has better link-up play than Erling Haaland does. Like, if you had to pick one to put on the wing, right? Like, if I had to pick a left winger, right? I would rather have Darwin Núñez than Erling Haaland. And I mean that sincerely. But unless you're playing like some crossing style football where you're trying to whip crosses into your wingers or something like that, or you're trying to play for corner kicks, I think that you probably get better benefit from Darwin Núñez. Especially because he just creates absolute chaos wherever he goes. I love his nickname, Captain Chaos. But it's true. But, who scored more goals against top 6 opposition? Darwin Núñez. Now, if you had to say which one would I rather put up top, it still probably would be Erling Haaland because Darwin Núñez, watching him raises my blood pressure. So, I'm not saying he's better, but if you had to pick one to put like out of position, I would pick Núñez. Yeah, I agree, Rambo, with everything you just said 100%. One trick pony, but he's great at that pony. He's great at tricking that pony, doing what he needs to do. Talk about wasteful in front of goal, though. Mr. Off Target, keep Nunez off your fantasy team. That's true. I would not necessarily suggest putting Darwin Nunez in your fantasy teams. Now, granted, they might make him really cheap. I actually think I have a clam farming video. Hang on. How many videos do I have in my gold method? 42? I gotta start unlisting some of these videos. It's crazy. What video? Oh my gosh. Un momento. We're gonna do some exploring here. I need to start like fully unlisting and taking some of these videos off. I've unlisted quite a few videos. I need to unlist more, I think, just because I think that I don't want people to keep being shown old videos that are like garbage and like not relevant. Like, who's gonna, are any of you guys interested in watching a golden vendor review from 2 years ago if it pops up to you? Probably not. I've done 148 golden vendor videos. That's crazy. Well, I guess that includes a Tuesday vendor too, because that's still the same playlist. Where is Gold Method Explained? Sigic Satchels, Scrying, Overland, AP. Oh, here it is. 6-1 down. Geysers. ESO Gold Method Explained. Geysers. It was one of the first ever videos I made, J-Crod. When was this video made? Hang on. And it's 7 minutes long. Oh my gosh, the intro is so cringe. Woo! Hang on. Let me switch it over for you guys. Here it is. Here's the oh, that's not what I wanted to move. Ah! Here's the old Jakeclips intro. Does this just take you back? When was this made? 3 years ago. Got 3,000 views. What the heck? I just I'm doing stupid stuff. Ah! Look at this. Literally knows what the audio sounded like. I didn't even want to go down that rabbit hole. This is what the intro looks like, though, so you guys can enjoy the old Jakeclips intro. This is Travis's character. I think. Oh, Travis recorded this for me for not the audio, but for the. Oh my gosh, why did that move? For the he recorded the gameplay because Travis used to farm this 24/7. This is Travis's character. You may have seen him in some of the live streams and whatnot. That is fair. I haven't actually looked at a lot of the buffs yet because so fun fact, when I made my Bethesda sponsored stream or not stream video, I was like, oh, by the way, like these are the new sets for the new classes and blah blah blah. And guess what? They all changed. Every single one of them was changed. I used infographics, and they were like, just kidding. So I don't like to do updates on stuff like that until I know what PTS is gonna say. So that's generally what I try to stick by because I don't want it to be like, hey, if even the vampirism change, honestly, because they might change it again. And if I do a whole dedicated video to the vampire change, then they do something completely different, then I have a whole dedicated video that's like not relevant anymore. Now, I don't think it's wrong to speculate and say like, hey, these patch notes are gonna put this class in this, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm not saying that that's like a bad video or anything. I just hate when my old stuff becomes like wrong. Fun fact, and I say that because somebody commented on one of my old videos about, what was it? Oh, it was how you could cheese the AI in Tales of Tribute. The video was from like 2 years ago when you could cheese the AI in Tales of Tribute to get like crazy fast experience. And he commented, was like, Jake, this doesn't work. And I was like, I'm sorry, they patched it. So I put in the title, patched. That video actually got quite a few views though. So like, I I don't want to unlist everything because I want advertisers to think that, you know, I do get views every so often. Oh, look, see, we're talking about the, you know, the purposes of Claim Gall right now. You could use it for the Artam takeaway broth, for the pickled fish bowl. You know, whatever one tickles your fancy. I was also thinking about doing a contest where we try to make the ugliest looking character possible. If you guys would be interested in entering something like that, please let me know. Because I feel like there's so many, like, oh, you know, this is the cutest character to ever exist. And you're like, all right. And I'm always somebody who's like, you know, show me the worst combination of things that you can do. Yes, there are new options to get Claim Gall, though. So this was posted back 3 years ago, before High Isle existed, so now you can go pick them up in the overworld. And plus, too, a lot of people are investing in, like, re-ingredient bags and stuff. And so from that aspect, too, there's been a lot of stuff on that end that has allowed more people to get Claim Gall, even just from other methods like the loot crates and stuff. I will probably be leaving to go watch the Euros here soon, though. So is there anything else? But in exchange for me leaving, I'll be doing a dedicated video. So if you guys can sell a good video concept in the next 5-ish, 10-ish minutes, I'll do that video later tonight. That's my give back to you for being here on stream. I was thinking about maybe doing a thief build video. I was thinking about doing a mythic build or mythic ranking video. But I could do anything, realistically. We could do an updated Claim Gall video, since you guys are talking about it right now. Oh my gosh, I remember when I used to do this. I remember when I used to talk about, like, I would give, like, gold methods, like, out of 5 stars. Best viewers on star. What's 3 stars? I actually don't know if Twitch just puts 3 stars for everything. Reliability only gave it 3 stars, though. I guess I'd agree with that based on just doing geysers. Especially because you have to do it with multiple people unless you want to be there for forever. Did I have any other criteria? Market stability, I gave this a 4 stars. Ooh. Did not know that they were going to add clams that you could just pick off the overworld. I thought this is going to be good for forever. I would like a thief build video. How do you feel about the new thieving mythic? I feel pretty good about it. I think it's actually pretty good. I've seen, excuse me, I've seen a lot of people talk about it. Look at these old graphics. I kind of miss giving everything out of 5 stars, though, for my criteria for gold videos. But I always just felt like it was so... It fluctuates just too much to be able to put a star rating on stuff like that. So, do you guys want me to do the thief build video? Anyway, is everybody, you know, like, oh, that's a good idea? I've seen some murmurings about that for the video later today. Is that what we would like to see, everybody? I have no preference. It's a good idea. And hey, we'll go with it. No complaints from me. We'll do it. I don't know when exactly it will come out because I'm gonna have to do some research, and I'm gonna have to watch the Euros, process how it ends and whatnot. So I don't know how long it will take me, but I'll be on it. What are the best in slots for thief builds? Well, you got to watch the video because I'm probably going to have to do some research because I've always just maxed out sneak detection range, but I feel like there's a little bit more than that I give it credit for sometimes. So I'm going to have to actually do some research on my own too to figure out what is the best. Because I have, oh my gosh, look at my old outro and it plays that little These are the 2 best videos recommended for me. Oh my gosh, it played the next one in the lineup. This is so funny. Oh my gosh. I remember when I made this intro, I was like, I'm so good at this game. Oh my gosh, look how dark this is. What is this? What is this video? What video is this? Oh, it's where you get the free ice. I remember what this is. This is where you get the free ice staff that was worth like 1,000,000 gold when it was first released, and it was like, what in the world? Why is this worth 1,000,000 gold? And you can just do this daily quest for it. So I was like, hey guys, it's your boy Jake. Just come on over here to Black One and just do this quest by Ferric Demon and get this staff that's worth like a bajillion gold. And everybody was like, okay. And then eventually the profit, kind of plummeted on it. Just started playing in. Thought about getting a new DLC, but I don't know yet. Just glad to see you're still doing ESO. Well, thank you. Glad to be here. I enjoy, obviously, ESO quite a bit. It's my favorite thing to do. I think the reason that I love ESO is the actual opposite reason the reason that I hate Destiny is like, I feel like if I needed to take a break from ESO to like do other stuff or when I'm busy moving and things, like I can do that so easily because the game doesn't require me to spend 10, 20 hours to get like seasonal items that will go away for forever. Evie. Ugh. Ugh. My cat is trying to sit on stuff that you're not supposed to. Feels like I'm picking up the void right now. You can't even see her because she's so dark. If you could add on top thief furnishing plans and loot from thieving, yeah, I could talk about some areas that are like popular to loot, if that's what you mean, like pickpocketing areas and stuff. I could do like a whole, that probably deserves a whole dedicated video, but I could definitely do like a, here's some quick areas, because I try to keep my videos greater than 8 minutes, but less than 20 minutes. I find that that's the good sweet spot for time. So that's usually the time frame that I try to keep. Maybe. Sit right here. Don't try to. Trying to stand on the keyboard. Don't stand on the keyboard. No. But everyone, I'm going to be going to watch the Euros here. If there's any other quickfire questions or tips, I will take a Rambo suggestion. Add some quickfire areas to get good stuff from while you're thieving around. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about companions as well, because companions is just as good when it comes to stealing stuff. Could be important to consider. Is it better to have Azander or Ember? Actually, it depends. So we'll break down all that stuff here in for you. And everyone, I hope you enjoy the Euros. If you're about to go watch it like myself, good luck to whatever team that you want to win. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. There'll be a video later. If you need a little more Jakeclips content, go check out yesterday's video. It still needs a little more love on it. But feel free to like this video and subscribe on this one as well. You guys are fantastic. As always, I'll catch you later.